Watch this.
Sending their patients out of state, or they just head that way themselves. In day 2 of the trial of Idaho's abortion laws, doctors say they are forced into facing difficult situations, and it's hurting medical care across the state.
They don't believe that these rules and regulations apply to them.
But to quote Kramer from Seinfeld, without rules, there's chaos. That doesn't seem to matter to a growing number of Idahoans who consider themselves sovereign citizens. Law enforcement, though, considers them a threat.
After watching this filming process and then having a coworker, fill me in on some of the plot lines, yeah, I'm going to have to take a peek.
Yeah, it might be good to check out one of the most popular shows on TV, but it also might be good to check your sense of direction. If you had to drive from Montana to Texas, would you head through Idaho? Probably not, but some ranch hands from the hit show Yellowstone, they did. Testimony against Idaho's strict abortion laws continues. Yesterday, we heard from the women who were forced to travel out of state to get the reproductive health care they needed. Today, it was the doctors' turn to take the stand, those named in the lawsuit and others. Doctors who believe they are in legal jeopardy when it comes to performing a medically necessary abortion in Idaho. The Center for Reproductive Rights sued the state on behalf of those doctors, former patients, and a local medical organization. Idaho's near-total abortion bans offer only 3 exceptions: rape, incest, and to prevent the death of the mother. Well, the plaintiffs in this lawsuit want those exceptions to be expanded to include the health of the mother without having to wait until the mother is near death and if the pregnancy has been diagnosed as fatal to the fetus. St. Alphonsus OBGYN Emily Corrigan is one of the 2 doctors named in this lawsuit. As a plaintiff, she says the laws force high-risk patients out of state for abortions, often putting themselves in danger by traveling for hours without a hospital nearby.
When I educate the patients about what the laws say, they are very disappointed and frustrated and scared. And that is probably, those conversations have been the most difficult conversations I have had to have in my entire career.
They're also expensive as well. We spoke to a patient who had to be airlifted out of state because of her pregnancy predicament. It's not cheap. Corrigan told the judge hospitals and clinics have a hard time retaining and recruiting doctors that provide obstetric care. She says they're scared of losing their licenses, they're scared of fines, and of course, prison time. The state pushed back during cross-examination today, which led Corrigan to say no Idaho doctor has been prosecuted or faced professional disciplinary procedures for providing an abortion since the Defense of Life Act went into effect 2 years ago. The day wrapped up with an Idaho Academy of Family Physicians member on the stand. And IAFP is one of the plaintiffs also in this case. Dr. Nicole Aker says she and other doctors don't understand the current exceptions.
This is legal jargon that I wasn't trained to understand in medical school. It's not, there's no definition medically for what those mean. I mean, at what point do I have to be certain someone will die in order to intervene in their pregnancy?
And that's why the doctors we spoke with say there's now a 3rd member in that examination room, the doctor, the patient, and possibly an attorney. Dr. Lauren Colson, a state leader when it comes to reproductive health care, took the stand. He took the stand late today and testified about maternal fetal medicine specialists and OBGYNs leaving Idaho since and because of Idaho's abortion laws. Idaho Coalition for Safe Healthcare shared a survey earlier this year showing of the 117 Idaho physicians who responded to the survey, 75 of the 117 answered yes or maybe when asked if they were considering leaving the state. And 73 of those 75 respondents, they said it was because of Idaho's restrictive abortion laws. That same survey showed 96% of the OBGYNs, well, they would stay in Idaho if health exceptions were added to the laws. When Idaho's abortion ban went into effect, there were 9 maternal fetal medicine doctors in Idaho. Those are the doctors who deal with the most complicated pregnancies. Earlier this year, 3 had already left, 2 others had submitted resignations. And 22% of Idaho's obstetricians have moved out of Idaho since Idaho's abortion ban was triggered. This trial is expected to wrap up sometime next week. Like a cannonball in the shallow end of the pool, President-elect Donald Trump continues to make splashes with his choices for cabinet and administrative roles. Just before 2 p.m. Mountain Time, word began to circulate around D.C. that President-elect Donald Trump would be nominating Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz to be our next Attorney General. That's the position currently held by Merrick Garland, the same Merrick Garland whose Department of Justice is suing Idaho over its abortion ban. Well, Trump claims Gaetz would end weaponized government, protect our borders, dismantle criminal organizations, and restore Americans' badly shattered faith and confidence in the Justice Department. Idaho's delegation to Congress, well, some of them see it differently. When a reporter from the Huffington Post got wind of this nomination, he asked Idaho Congressman Mike Simpson about it. And Congressman Simpson's immediate reaction to Jonathan Nicholson apparently was, are you what, me? Which is what Nicholson posted on social media. I'm not going to fill in the blank for you. You can probably figure it out. Meredith Lee Hill, a reporter for Politico, was also apparently in that Q&A and gives a little bit more context. Asked if Matt Gaetz has the experience and character to be Attorney General, the beginning of Simpson's answer remains the same, but Congressman Simpson went further to say, are you, that you just asked that question? No, but hell, you'll print that, and now I'm going to be investigated. There's a little bit of history there, too. Both of these might suffice for a succinct summary of his thoughts and feelings, but Congressman Simpson did send us a more formal response to the possibility of Matt Gaetz getting to be America's next lead lawyer. President Trump, Simpson said, has done an excellent job appointing selections for his next cabinet and key administrative positions. However, the nomination of Congressman Matt Gaetz as Attorney General is concerning. Gaetz is under a House ethics investigation, and I believe the House Ethics Committee should release their report as soon as possible before the Senate moves forward with confirmations. The House Ethics Committee investigation is based on allegations that Gaetz was involved in the sex trafficking of a 17-year-old girl. The committee is also looking into whether Gaetz engaged in sexual misconduct and illicit drug use, accepted improper gifts, and also sought to obstruct government investigations of his conduct. Gaetz has categorically denied any of these allegations before the committee, and then back in 2023, the Justice Department, which Gaetz is hoping to lead, well, they dropped a sex trafficking case against him without filing any charges. There's also a history here that I said between Gaetz and Simpson. Remember when it took 15 votes to select California Congressman Kevin McCarthy as the Speaker of the House? Well, Matt Gaetz was one of the 2 present votes for the first 14, which led to this heated exchange on the floor between McCarthy and Gaetz in January of 2023. McCarthy's tenure lasted all of 10 months, becoming the first Speaker of the House to be voted out that October, a vote instigated by Gaetz, and a vote not supported by Congressman Simpson, who said then, well, I stood with Speaker McCarthy then, and I stand with him now. Didn't matter. McCarthy was voted out. The current Speaker, Mike Johnson, he replaced him. There was also a tweet from Congressman Simpson prior to that ousting where he wrote, quote, when Matt Gaetz becomes the ethics standards bearer of our conference, we're in trouble, end quote. Well, the House doesn't get to decide who sits on the President-elect Trump cabinet. That is up to the Senate, which looks to have a Republican majority to make that happen. However, so far, reports say Senate confirmation might be difficult. We did reach out to Senators Risch and Crapo. Haven't heard back from them yet, but Trump, again, claims that Gaetz is the guy. Sovereign citizens, the term and belief system, it's nothing new. It started taking shape in the 1970s. It's a large anti-government extremist movement where people believe they are above the law, and they only have to answer to their own interpretation of said law. Since then, we've seen situations pop up across the United States involving this group. August 24th of 2013, The Times reported 2 self-proclaimed sovereign citizens were plotting to confront Las Vegas police officers during traffic stops and kill them if they resisted, illustrating their commitment to the idea of fighting governmental authority. In Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Robert Peterson, a self-proclaimed sovereign citizen in 2012, he made a big splash online. It came after walking into a courthouse for a traffic violation, claiming he had the right to take his camera and film his court hearing. The bailiff, he told him that was against courthouse rules, and that led to this.
Please step aside. I'm going in.
No, you're not going in.
Don't touch me.
You're not going in, sir.
Let the record show that you just battered me.
Step back.
And you're using... Stop, please.
That's what happens when you get tased. And while it's not new, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Idaho says this movement, this sovereign citizen movement, is again gaining ground. And as Hunter Funk explains, for people in Idaho, His concern is for the safety of those using public lands.
So basically, it's in a sense they're saying, well, this public land is mine because I have the First Amendment right to have it?
It's hard to explain the theory, and sometimes we see filings that just don't make any sense when those individuals try to actually engage with the court system. Any public lands user has rights to access, rights to use of the land consistent with the rules and regulations. It could be hunting regulations, it could be camping regulations. What we see with sovereign citizens is that they don't believe that these rules and regulations apply to them, and then they usually affirmatively try to seek ownership of the land to the exclusion of other individuals, other members of the public who do want to comply with the rules and regulations. And that's where the conflict can get really dangerous.
I mean, is that one of your concerns too, right? They're allowed to do, follow whatever they want to believe in, but yeah, is that your concern is when it gets dangerous?
Correct. Ideology is not something that is regulated, right? So people can have whatever belief they want, but then when their belief starts impinging on the rights of others, again, in the example of public lands, with someone's access to a campsite, for example, that's where that is a violation of the law by that individual who's trying to exclude other people. And that's where situations can lead to confrontations, and it can be dangerous. Fortunately, law enforcement is very skilled at trying to de-escalate and diffuse situations and be very patient with these people. But at some point, we need to take these people to court.
For those who have maybe now learned about it, what is your advice to them?
That if you're, hunting, you're using trails, motorized trails, mountain biking trails, campsites, and someone is claiming that this is their land, the best advice that we would have is to contact local law enforcement, federal authorities if it's on federally managed land, try to diffuse the situation through the law rather than confronting someone with potentially unstable beliefs. My hope is that there'll be broader awareness, and so people can be aware that there might come across someone who is claiming, exclusive rights to public lands or some other area, and then they know that law enforcement is equipped to deal with this, and the legal process is also equipped to deal with this issue.
And public lands is what the DOJ sees the most issues with when it comes to sovereign citizens. After reaching out to our FBI field office about what they've seen, they stated that anti-government or anti-authority violent extremism is one of the FBI's top threats, sovereign citizen included in that category. Also stating that membership in domestic groups is not illegal in and of itself and protected by the First Amendment, but they are focused on individuals who intend to commit crimes or pose a threat to national security.
Kind of like blowing up a power plant or any sort of those kind of things, those would be not allowed. It was interesting, like watching the beginning of that video, that Robert Peterson from 2013. I mean, they have these beliefs, they say things like, I am a man, but I'm not a person, because legally that would make them under law. So they have a weird way of looking at things. Yeah, it's very interesting. They kind of, try to go around it, and they just truly believe that whatever is in the Constitution or whatever they're reading or guidelines, they don't follow. They don't follow. Yeah, taxes, that's another one. Interesting. All right, thank you very much, Hunter.
These days I can't stand to look in the mirror.
Did you know there's a sliver of Yellowstone National Park that goes through Idaho? Well, maybe you didn't know a sliver of Yellowstone the show also went through Idaho. We're breaking down the whole 7-second scene. Whether you're fans of Rip, Casey, or Beth, or maybe just a fan of the 208, get in on this conversation. Just no spoilers, please. Text us about the 208 or our neighbors to the east. 208-321-5614 is the number. And don't forget your name and the hashtag the 208. All right, hit TV show Yellowstone. It's about a Montana ranching family fighting back against the modern world encroaching on their lifestyle. And if you're a fan of the show, you know this. But maybe if you caught the latest episode that aired Sunday, you might not have known Idaho is featured in it. Or maybe you did notice it, and of course, featured is a strong word here. In less time than it takes Olympians to run 100 meters, the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch truck and trailer went through a part of Idaho you may not consider as the most direct route to Texas. Regardless, as Aspen Shumpert found out, Idaho's transportation department wasn't going to let an opportunity like this just ride on by.
The TV series Yellowstone, which is based around a working cattle ranch in Montana, made its way to Idaho last summer. 7 seconds of the Craters of the Moon area appeared in Sunday's episode.
I can look this way. Is that?
That'd be perfect. And J.R. Grotjohn with the Idaho Transportation Department helped make it happen.
The Crater shoot involved them filming a Yellowstone branded, like it had the Yellowstone Dutton insignia on the side of the pickup, and involved filming that from the air with the helicopter. So it's kind of B-roll footage.
Grotjohn says they were able to film without any major disruptions to Highway 2026 and didn't even close the road for the shoot.
They came and did what we refer to as a rolling roadblock, where they have a unit like a mile ahead and a unit like a mile behind, and they drive down the road 1 to 3 miles and then pull off into a turnout and repeat the sequence until they get the shot right.
How many tries did they take to get that perfect shot that we saw on Sunday?
They were there for approximately 4 hours, and I think 2 of that was filming. 3 or 4 attempts it took to get what you saw on Sunday.
But no, none of the stars were there, and the horse trailer was empty. You're kind of killing my dreams as a Yellowstone fan, telling me the actors weren't here and everything I see on TV isn't what you were seeing.
I say I don't watch the show, but you got to be living under a rock if you didn't know at least a little bit about it. But he looked a lot like Casey Dutton. He looked very, very similar. And then they had another gentleman there. He was most definitely a Rip type costume, build, beard, that kind of thing.
Grotjohn, who hasn't seen the show, says the shoot intrigued him to start it. Was this something that was exciting for you to kind of be a part of?
Yeah, it's different than my normal day-to-day. I mean, I do a lot of work with utility companies and developers, and, you know, being able to see kind of what happens behind filming of a TV show is a one-off for me. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
But I still have one more question, and so do a few other Idaho fans that noticed the scene. To get from Montana to Texas, the route would make more sense to take Highway 15, not Highway 2026, where the scene was shot. So you could say the Yellowstone ranch hands went the long way or the wrong way, but Idaho still made its way on the television screen. ITD says this is the second time they've worked with the Yellowstone crew. Idaho actually appeared in an earlier episode of the series. ITD says they filmed near the small town of Lador, Idaho. For a similar scene, ITD says of a route similar going from Montana to Texas.
They like Idaho, okay, but
they do.
We noticed in the little 7-second clip, not only using the wrong road to get to Texas, they were heading east on 20.
It's TV.
Maybe they turned around and like, wait, this isn't the way to Texas, and then went back that way.
Yeah, or maybe they were going down for one try, back the other way for another try.
Unbelievable.
Takes a few tries to get the perfect shot.
It's like movie magic, but it's pretty easy to see. All right, well, thanks, Aspen. That was kind of fun. That's awesome. And it's Ledor, by the way.
I can't, okay,
it's hard.
Thank you. It is hard.
Ledor.
Yeah.
I know we're going to get text messages, but I just want to make that clear. We got it now. Thank you. We've been following Brian Koberger through his court proceedings very closely. But today's the actual day that 4 University of Idaho students were brutally murdered 2 years ago today in Moscow. And tonight, there's a way to help heal. Abby Wilt has details on that and more in today's 411.
Today marks 2 years since 4 University of Idaho students were murdered in an off-campus home in Moscow. In honor of those 4 vandals, the Associated Students of the University of Idaho is holding a memorial tonight at 6 Pacific time at the Healing Garden. They'll share memories, write notes, and gather in the space dedicated to all the vandals who have died.
Guidance in having a cell phone policy. So that guidance has been taken into consideration.
2 weeks after a $5,000 incentive from the state, Caldwell School District added its name to the list of banning cell phones in schools. On Monday, the school district said cell phones and other personal electronic communication devices need to be turned off and out of sight during school, except when high school students are at lunch. First strike, the device is confiscated for the day, then the student or parent can pick it up. Second strike, it's confiscated for the day, but only the parent can pick it up. Third strike, the phone won't be returned until a disciplinary meeting with the student and parent. And don't forget, the Steelheads take on the Rapid City Rush tonight at the ICCU Arena in downtown Boise. The game starts at 7 p.m., and if you can't make it downtown, don't worry. You can watch this and all the Steelheads home games on our 24/7 channel or KTVB.2. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Abby Wilt.
Well, Lindsay and Starr has something to say about the trial over the Idaho abortion laws that are infringing on doctors and patients like this. Good riddance to those docs who kill babies in Idaho. We don't need you here. Okay, well, abortion is medical care, especially in medical procedures when it's necessary. That means that it is part of their practice. But for all the OBGYNs, there's such a small part. Even before this law went into effect, it was a small part of their practice. Good luck getting an appointment if all of them are gone, though, Lindsay. Good luck getting an appointment with an OBGYN. And they're needed for much more than that. Gosh, since no doctors have been persecuted under this abortion law, could that be because our doctors are too afraid to do any, says Jerry? It's a good question. Simpson's response shows he recognizes Gaetz is about to weaponize the DOJ and that speaking out is asking to get investigated. That's M in Boise. You know, there are entire TikTok channels dedicated to sovereign citizens and their utter idiocy. If you're ever feeling bad, it's a great pick-me-up. You automatically feel smarter and more grounded just by watching it. Might give that a shot, Tam. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.